Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Exercise Mechanic. Today we have a very special and a very, I dare say, interesting guest who's joining us today. Her name is Morgan McKay. Morgan, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
I'm definitely excited to pick your brain. I know Ryan's excited as well. And leading up to today, I've had on numerous occasions, I've looked into you a little bit online. And you have like a pedigree in the endurance world that kind of borders on insane, ranging from, doing 10 kilometers with an extra 100 pounds to participating in the Barkley marathons, which very few people will do in their lifetime, to then also winning the Iceland Spartan Ultra. And I'm sure there's many, many, many more things. And, and then in addition to that, you have, as I can only imagine, a whole host of, personal and professional experiences. Because I know yourself, you're a coach, you're an athlete, and you manage to balance all that as a wife, mom, etc. So we have like countless roads that we can go down today in our, when it comes to conversation. That being said, I want to start somewhere that for me, when I was looking into you, it blew my fucking mind. I'd like for you to talk to us about the world's toughest mudder DNF that happened and how that went. And then I'd love for you to talk to us about your raging comeback to win the Iceland Spartan Ultra. Let's start there.
Oh my God, I love it. Thanks for that intro. It like makes my morning going down memory lane there. Okay. Yeah. So my DNF, that was a year where I was feeling really, really strong. And that was the year that they had the most prize money at World's Toughest Mudder. So it was something crazy. I can't remember, like 50 grand for the winner. And I was going hard. I think I was in around second place when I got to an obstacle. It was called Funky Monkey. And this has always been like my favorite obstacle. It's these spinning wheels over water. So kind of like Ninja Warrior style. I was tired and I was not mentally having the best race. I got to that obstacle and I'd slipped off of it and I hit my head on like, cause you swing onto like a platform and I just missed that. I hit my head there, was knocked out. They had to pull me out of the water. And then there they called the medical team. They pulled me into a tent. I think I had like dehydration, hypothermia. It was not good. And then I came home and I was super pissed because I had been training all year for this race. It was like everything was in on it. And, I just started chatting with a friend that was like, oh yeah, there's Spartan, come to this one. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's go. I already had all the training under my belt. So I was cleared with the concussion, and then I was able to go and compete. And then there just one foot in front of the other kind of thing.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so for those that don't know, can you talk to us and the listeners what kind of distance we're talking about for the World Toughest Mudder event, and then also for the Iceland Spartan Ultra?
Yeah, for
like maybe
sure.
Total distance and maybe like the amount of obstacles, just to kind of paint a picture of the reality of what these events look like.
Yeah. So it's a 24-hour race. And what they do is they set up a 5-mile obstacle course. And within that obstacle course, you have things ranging from like rope climbs to cliff jumps to crawling under live electrical wires that literally electrocute you while you're going under them, to like countless walls, crazy ones. Like in World's Toughest Mudder, they have this other obstacle where it's like adult operation. So you have like a giant pole, and you're trying to get through a hole to like get a ring on the other side. And you're also standing in like a bucket of water. So if you touch the sides with your metal pole, it electrocutes you. And like, you'd think like, oh, it's a race. Like they can't electrocute you that bad. Like it has to be humane. It electrocutes you that bad. Like it will zap you back and you'll feel it in your hands. Like it's crazy. Like I still have PTSD from it, I swear. But yeah, like it's the distance depends on the competitor. Like for myself, I'm trying to keep my rest times like between transitions. So you run your 5-mile obstacle, you have like a stop where you can reload your food, change your equipment if you need to, and get back out. The pros will do that in under 5 minutes, but people who are coming and, you know, they're just there for fun or they run into issues, you can stop and rest for as long as you want. But the distance that I'd cover is usually around 75 to 85 miles within those 24 hours. Yeah.
Bananas.
It's
bananas.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this like backyard ultra format where there's a time, there's a course, and the winner is the one that does the greatest amount of distance and or the greatest amount of obstacles within the time allotment.
Yes, exactly. Whoever can complete the most amount of laps.
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And was that the same format between, so the one that you're describing with like the loops, the time limit and as many rounds as possible, is it the same format with that and the Iceland Spartan Ultra, or are those two different formats?
Yeah, same format, but the obstacles are different. Like World's Toughest Mudder, it's more of like a flat course with like electrocution type obstacles, and like it was like a 35-foot cliff jump. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Meters? Ugh. It's high, very, very high.
There's a pretty big difference between 35 feet and 35 meters.
35 feet's enough for me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no doubt.
Wait a second, 35 meters. There we go. Yeah. And then
That's crazy.
That's high.
It's super high. Like to train for that, I went to Carleton and I would ask like for special permission because they have that top diving board, like lock and key. Like you can't get up there. I'd have to like specially request it and practice just jumping off of there into the water. So that when I got
My
to
palms are sweating just thinking about it.
it's awful. And if you jump wrong, like you're getting a nosebleed. Like it was wild. And you do it at nighttime. You're jumping at nighttime. It's crazy.
So Ryan, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but like for me, there's one that stands out. There's one that stands out for me, which is like, what's the draw of being electrocuted and, you know, jumping at night and potentially having a nosebleed, you know? And of course, and I'm saying that because like, I'm saying it in that way because I think in my own way, and I think probably in Ryan's own way, we get it.
Yeah.
But for those that perhaps don't, I'd love for you to maybe kind of touch on what is it about this that lights you up? Like why suffer in training as much as you probably had to,
right.
You know, so that you can then go suffer more during 24 hours. Like what's the draw and what motivates you to push yourself the way that you do?
That's such a good question. And honestly, I think if I had heard about what all the obstacles really were, I don't know if I would go for it. But it's kind of like once you are signed up for the race, they won't tell you what the obstacles are until you get there. And until you've really experienced it, you don't know that they're that crazy. And then for me, it's kind of like I live once and I want to experience my life to the fullest. And I know that it's not going to kill us. Like they can't kill you in this races, intentionally anyway. But for me, it's just kind of like, okay, I know I'm afraid of heights. I would never want to jump off of this cliff. But I know it's going to push me to be a better athlete, and they have a penalty option. So instead of jumping off the cliff, you can do a 1/2-mile penalty loop. And for me, as being very competitive, I know that if I take that penalty loop, I'm going to get crushed. Like I'm not going to win if I'm not jumping off that cliff. So for me, it's worth it to like face my fear, train and do it. And the same goes for like the electrocution obstacles. Like that's, I don't know if anybody really loves getting electrocuted. But it's kind of fun to like practice and get good at it and like control your breathing. And the goal is to not get zapped. Same with like crawling under it. So I think the draw to it is just kind of constantly pushing and challenging myself to just be a better athlete. And it's not always physical. It's hugely mental. The more and more I dive into this, I am not the fastest and I'm not the strongest. I never will be, but I'll just show up and I'll do the crazy shit, I guess.
I think that's actually a great segue, because I had a couple of questions around this. And, you know, I'm fascinated by the psychology of high-level athletes, people who are competitors. You know, I just recently watched I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was the docuseries of the men's U.S. basketball team. And like just seeing the way these guys tick, it's always something I've found really remarkable. And I wanted to start by saying, you know, after we had booked this podcast, my mom is an endurance runner, and I had talked with her. And I didn't realize my mom, I believe, had coached you in cross country in high school. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like she must have been amazing. And my mom was like, she was terrible. She's like, she was a horrible cross country runner. I was like, oh my God, really?
I sucked.
Which shocked me. But I think it's so fascinating that, you know, I would have just assumed, I was like, oh, this person who's literally a world record holder, clearly they've just been good at this forever. And clearly that wasn't the case. So I want to know what was the difference, do you think, you know, the high school athlete version of Morgan, and why these events seem to suit you so well? And then, you know, you kind of alluded to it before, but I want to know what characteristics, maybe both physically and psychologically, do you think make a good endurance athlete?
That's honestly just like my favorite question ever. And it's what I love talking about, because there was a switch for me, like growing up, like my childhood and even in high school, like I wasn't hugely into sports and I wasn't very athletic. I touched on it here and there. Like I tried cross country. I was shit. Like I was happy to have finished the race that we even went to that year. And I think for me, it's just like, I had no mental game. Like I was interested in sports, but I was never really taught like consistency or adherence. My parents never pushed me. Like I remember being signed up for soccer and I was like, I don't feel like going. They're like, okay, you don't have to go. And that was just kind of up until university. And then what happened there was my cousin was like, let's do this 5K Spartan race. Like, let's go and do it. And I was like, I don't even know if I can do this. She's like, you can run 5K. I'm like, okay, sure. And I went and did the race. And then that race was my big mental switch, because I enjoyed that race so much. I looked into what else is out there. And from there, it was just a mental switch. I just was like, you know what? I bet if I trained and I was consistent, I could maybe be good at this. And that's where it started. I was super interested in something called the Spartan Death Race. It's a 3-day race out in Vermont where it's very similar to like a military selection. And I can't say very similar, but like in the way that you would go for 3 days straight without sleeping. It's a lot of mental and physical challenges. And from there, after that race, I was just like, I can take on anything. Like if it's an A to B race and I train hard, I can do it. And that's where the psychology does come very deep into it, because even competing at high level, I knew that I was competing against girls that were way faster than me. Like my 5K time is around 25 minutes. Like I'm not super fast. I'm not super strong either. Like right now I can deadlift my body weight, not much beyond that. But when you combine the two and you know that you can just keep taking a step after step after step and you get your nutrition dialed in. And the biggest thing is showing up too. Like a lot of times you get in your head about, oh, this girl's going or this girl's going. It doesn't matter. Just show up and do the race and do your best, because so many things can happen in that time as well.
Were there any mental practices specifically that you did to like transition into being able to like tolerate those races?
Yeah, I watched, I don't know if you've heard the documentary, The Secret. where it's all about visualization and the law of attraction. So I really took that and I would make a vision board. So I would write like, this year I want to win Spartan World Championships. And from there, I would break it down into steps. Okay, how am I going to do that? I need to work out 5 to 6 times a week. 3 of those need to be runs. 3 of those need to be strengths. And I need to increase my distance 10% leading up to my peak week. And if I can follow that plan, that's going to help me. And I would put that literally like in my room. So it's like the first thing I see when I wake up. So now my mind, the first thing I see is like, okay, that's my goal. As I go about my day, I'm going to think about what are the things I need to do to help me get better at my goal. Okay, maybe I need to switch to this CrossFit gym because the athletes there are really good. And I want to train with the best athletes because I'm going to push myself harder. Okay, you know what? I've been kind of dogging it in my runs. I can do better. Okay, I'm going to sign up with the Natural Fitness Lab and I'm going to go run with their best runners because that's going to push me to be a better runner. So it's like was programming my brain different ways to find how am I going to get better at achieving this big goal that I have for myself.
And so you just touched on one of the really great answers, by the way. And you just touched on one of the things that for me, I'm genuinely really curious because it's something that I struggle with. And I know that like countless humans who are endeavoring to balance just maybe getting in better shape, not necessarily even striving for world class in a given sport. So many people have trouble balancing the requirements to kind of catalyze adaptation in the body.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about running 3 times a week with progressively increasing volumes, strength training. I'm sure bolstering that with good quality nutrition, adequate sleep, and also, still working, raising, you have a son, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and I'm sure your husband wants a little bit of attention. So like, how did you do that? Cause like, I think it's like, cool, you made this plan.
Yeah.
But then how did you manage to make it work within the larger context of your life? Cause it seems like you have a lot going on.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's like, they call it the 4th discipline or the magic discipline. It's finding out how you're going to actually adhere to the program and the plan because life happens. And that was the hardest part, was actually balancing, your personal life, your career, getting in the training, recovering. Like that is definitely the hardest part of all of it. I just strive to do the best I could and accept that some weeks your training is not going to be ideal. Like you're going to get sick or you're going to go on vacation, or maybe there's something in your life that's happening and that is going to take more of your attention away from your training. It's always just, what are your priorities? I'm lucky enough that my husband, he's really supportive and he's also in like the coaching space. And he loves competition. So he's really supportive in that it's like, hey, I'm going to go like leave for 3 hours on a Saturday. We just make sure that, he'll get that time either the next day or later that night. So we try and balance it out that way in our family, but it is challenging. Like I won't lie.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you guys really kind of take a team approach to it. It's
Yeah.
not you necessarily imposing your priorities within the kind of family unit. And I just want to kind of underscore this because what you just touched on, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So if you think if this is a false assessment, please correct me.
Okay.
But what you just touched on, which in my language would be teamwork. And I find like within so many like family contexts, unfortunately, what ends up happening is one person, as they're trying to make changes in their life, they feel like they need to impose and create these hard boundaries with their family in contrast to rallying the family as a team. And what you're kind of talking about, it seems like you and your husband are taking like a team approach to not only your goals, but also to like the larger kind of like family dynamic.
Yeah, and it's always a work in progress and it's never perfect. Like there's definitely times where you know, he might be like, okay, you're absent right now, like because I've just put in like a crazy high volume effort and the next day I'm a bit of a write-off. So we do encounter that, and it's never like a perfect trade-off either. Like he competes in bodybuilding. So sometimes when it's like he's in his season, I have to dial back on mine, and like vice versa. So right now I'm in like a good space where I can kind of focus on me a little bit more. And then I know come this summer, it's going to transition a little bit more to him. So yeah, the best way, it's a work in progress, but it's never perfect. And we definitely butt heads sometimes on it, but we know that we live once and we try as best as we can to accommodate each other's goals. Yeah.
I want to kind of keep pulling on this thread of, talking about the family aspect of training and fitness. I grew up with parents who were both high level athletes. Sports competition was a part of my life as long as I can remember. I had a bat or a glove or a stick in my hands as soon as I could walk. And I know, now it's a little bit more conscious, but subconsciously, I know that had a massive influence on, my socializing, how fitness has been, literally become my career and essentially the only job I've ever had. I'm curious from your standpoint, like being a mother, to what degree are you consciously trying to set an example of fitness to your kids? And maybe like what kind of ways are you doing that?
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, because for me, it was opposite growing up. Like my parents weren't athletic at all. My mom was like yo-yo dieting. She struggled with her weight. She didn't really work out. Neither did my dad. So it wasn't a natural thing that really came to me. It came to me when I decided to. So for my son and my bonus daughters, we really want to keep them involved in activities. And we like to include them as much as we can. So like example, we ran a boot camp in the summer and it was Wednesday nights, and we knew like, well, we're going to have our son with us and we would bring him. And what was really amazing was then the participants in our boot camp were like, oh, do you mind then if I bring my kids? Like, of course, bring your kids. So what ended up happening in this 12-week boot camp was it turned into like this family boot camp, which was amazing. Like we had toddlers, like 3-year-olds running up and down the hill. And like we accidentally turned these kids into monsters. Like my son at the beginning of it would just, for fun, he'd run up and like roll himself down. And by the end of this boot camp, he went up 7 times. And we would go to like, there's this outdoor park where we would get, our clients to like do like pull-ups and stuff. And like, he wanted to do it because he's watching it. And I'm thinking, how lucky am I that I get to like do something different for my kids and show them. And like my bonus daughters too, like they thought, oh, Spartan race is so cool. And they did a kids race and they loved it. So then they tried another one at a different venue. So it's been really, really cool. And like sometimes my stepdaughter will be like, I want to come for a run with you. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll like go around the pond. So it's nice when the family can get involved in it. It's way, way better. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I don't have any kids myself, but, to kind of share an aspect of the family piece that for me has, it's a season of my life that I really cherish. And it was, I think it was October of 2022 when I decided to run the marathon. So I have, for background story, because I know Morgan, you and I just met, I've never been an endurance athlete either. I used to play semi-competitive basketball, and I say semi-competitive because although I had really good skills, I had no aerobic capacity. So I would smoke people in the first quarter. But then after that, like I would just get obliterated by my competition because I just had no lungs. And so anyways, I digress. So in October 2022, I decided to do a marathon, signed up for it, and then committed to the training. during 2023, I got into this kind of habit of running along the aviation parkway, and I had increasing amount of kilometers or time that I had to do. And, and eventually it got to like the 12K distance, 14, 16, and you're running in, an hour and a half, hour 45, 2 hours. You start to consider, to a greater degree, you need to start considering your fueling and stuff like that. I'm like, fuck, how am I going to, there's no places conveniently nearby where I can like set up a table and leave a banana for me. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? I didn't have a hydration vest. So I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask my parents if they want to come with me. Because my wife at the time was living here in Geneva and I was still back in Ottawa. And they said yes. So what they would do is they would bring their bikes over to my place, and it would be like Saturday morning or Sunday. I can't remember when I had my long runs. And we would bike over to essentially near, what is it called? Tavern on the Falls, I believe, in Ottawa. Lock up our bikes there. I'd start my watch, off I went. And then my mom and my dad would be there on their bikes with like my water bottles with my fuel in it and stuff. And it was like those memories, I cherish them so profoundly. Like being able to share this kind of chapter that for me was incredibly meaningful. And normally you do it in isolation, generally, or, if you go for like a 2-hour run, very rarely are you going to be there with your mom and your dad, but they were there on their bikes. And it was it's such an amazing memory for me to be able to share that with family. And of course it's very different than, sowing those seeds with your kids. But I can only imagine being able to kind of like see that of the effect that you're having on your son, and seeing the effect on how do you call it? Your daughter,
my bonus daughters.
Your bonus daughters. I love that. Seeing the effect, like how contagious your behavior is and how it has these positive effects on those that you love. It's a really remarkable feeling. I can only imagine when it's your own kid, how special that is.
Oh yeah. And like, I love that you told me that story, because it reminds me of like, you asked, what's the allure of like the certain, like the zapping obstacles and stuff like that. And I forgot, like the best part of all of this is really the journey up to the race. And like you said, it's these memories that you make with other people along the way. Like, I really feel like I'll dial in with like a tribe when I'm training. Like, there's people that I look forward to, like, okay, I'm going to run with this client of mine or this friend of mine, and we're going to push each other. And we will do that like week after week after week, like building up to one of my races or perhaps one of their own. And it's like those bonds that you create with other people that is so special. And it's takes the race beyond the race. It really becomes like this life experience, this incredible journey that we're all on, and we're all helping each other get better and overcome things. And it's, things in your life, and it's just cool. Like, I love that part.
That's actually something, I had mentioned I've been watching, or had finished watching, this documentary of the basketball team. And it's an element that I often miss from competitive sports, is that team environment where, you're almost isolated in your own little bubble from everybody else. And you have this shared objective, this shared passion. But I do think that's something that's really cool with, just athletics in general. I'm in the bodybuilding world now, and, even within Ottawa, which isn't a hot spot for bodybuilding, there's still this sense of camaraderie in that community because everyone's working towards the same thing. Brett would understand this as well. Like, we all know all the challenges that go into it. And I think it's something that's really cool. I've seen some of the stuff that you guys have done with the BeFit program. Some of the, I guess, like community events, for lack of a better expression, that you guys have put together.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's really fascinating. As somebody that I think really values the community that sport can provide, I think it's really neat that you guys are using your platform as an opportunity to give community to people as well. Can you maybe talk about what has gone into that? Maybe the how community within that space has affected you, and then what you guys are trying to give to everybody else.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like the thing that stands out for me was because I've been doing Spartan races for so long, and I'd always mention it to people, like I'm doing the Spartan race, and people would say like, "Oh, I wish I could do that," or "Oh, I could never do that," or "I'm too nervous to do that," or "I would do it if my husband did it with me." And we're like, why don't we make a team? Like, why don't we get as many people on our team who are first timers? So that was our goal last year. Our goal was like, let's get 50 people who've never done a Spartan race before, and we'll run the race with them. And we talked to Spartan Race. We told them like, this is our plan. They gave us like a really nice discount code that we could give to our clients. And we just started signing people up. We got everybody like jerseys, and it was just like the best experience ever. I think it ended up having 60 people show up for a Spartan race. It was like 1 p.m. It was super hot. It was in the summer. And it was really cool because people kind of like broke up into like pace groups naturally. So you had your people who wanted to like go and shine. They kind of went. Brett and I kind of stayed around the middle pack. And then we went out for the last people at the end and made sure that everybody came in together. And it was so cool. And we want to do it again this year. We want to double it. That's our goal. We'd love to get 100. And then what was great for our business too was that people are like, okay, I'll sign up and I'll do it, but like, how do I train? We're like, well, we have this boot camp in the summer, so you can sign up, come train with us at KRC Hill. It's like a toboggan hill. And there, we'll practice all the strength that you'll need for the obstacles. And the biggest challenge is the hill. Like it is just that incline on the body. So we practiced that for about 12 weeks before the race. But it was so good. It was so good to get community in. We got long-term clients out of that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this business of yours, BeFit. You guys have been in operation for how long? And I'm also curious, what would you say are like some of the quirks, or what sets you apart from, the various people in the space?
Yeah, so BeFit, it's Brett and I, it's our company. And what's really cool, what makes us different is we kind of him and I are very opposite athletes. Like bodybuilding and endurance is almost completely different, like night and day, which is really, really great that we can offer services to both ends of the spectrum. And him and I will kind of like come together for anything in between. But anything bodybuilding related is Brett's thing, and anything more like endurance or race based, I'll take. And then we share what's in between. But what we do is we periodize our programming. So every 4 weeks, you can expect a different program. And by program, I mean, we'll write out like your strength days and your cardio days. So for me, myself, like for training like an athlete, I would have 3 strength days, 3 cardio days, and your long cardio day progressing you towards whatever race it is that you're training for. And then Brett has his thing, which is way more complicated than mine with the bodybuilding stuff, the different like angles that you have to hit to like sculpt the muscles, Ryan, all that kind of thing. But it's it's different. And then we'll do your nutrition as well. So Brett does a lot more of that than I do because he can really dial in on those things. But yeah, we offer online training, and then I do personal training and classes. So I coach out of this awesome gym called Bodies by Phil. We're in Canada. So I run 9 classes a week, and then personal training in between. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing more info on that, because I'm sure that like at some point today, there's going to be folks listening to this that are going to either be interested in learning more about you or wanting to actively work with you. So now at least they're armed with a little bit more information about how to do that before we get to the end of the episode, where we'll get you to plug that stuff again.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
But I'd like to circle back to something that you said a few minutes ago and draw some parallels with something that I actually shared with Ryan and Brett, who's another gentleman who's a part of the Exercise Mechanic team. All kind of stemming from my run on this past Saturday, which was I was running and I realized that the part that I love the most about training for events. So right now I'm training for the Geneva Marathon and also a race in Switzerland called E51 or the Eiger 51.
Cool.
So 51K trail in the Alps with just an ass load of elevation gain. And ass load is a lot in case you're
so cool.
for the uninitiated. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that like I prefer the training leading up to the event than the event itself. And like by, I don't know how to put this, but like by like significantly. And you touched on something similar earlier, like the joy of training and kind of like what training reveals when you don't necessarily, because we don't necessarily know what we can do until we are audacious enough to kind of set a goal that is absolutely outside of our reach in a given moment. But then you just commit to the process like you did for your events where you say, okay, I want to do well at this thing. What do I need to do? Well, I need to reverse engineer it. I got my 3 runs, got my 3 training days, increasing mileage, et cetera. And then, so you create this plan and then it just boils down to just execute. And in any case, when you touched on that earlier, for me, that really resonated because this is something that I've been kind of actively contemplating over the past like 72 hours or so. Would you say that that's the case for you, just to be kind of like really clear? Like, is that something that you've experienced as well, that like the joy of training is, and kind of like what it reveals is greater than the event? Or do you find like, are you really driven by the event in and of itself?
It's such a good question. And honestly, I don't have the right answer. Like I'm trying to think of, which one do I like more? It's different. Like I enjoy the training and like the journey up to the race, but there have been races that I've absolutely like loved. Like I just remember running like in 2019 World's Toughest Mudder, the year that I won, and I was in just such a good zone. Like it was like everything clicked that day. I was just cloud 9, like my mind and my body aligned, and it was like you're high. Like you're just like zoom in and everything is just like working out in your favor and you're in this flow, and like that's a really cool feeling. And you finish that and you're like, I may never feel this again. But on the flip side, there have been races that it's just been absolutely awful. It's like sucked out my soul. It's made me question my life and my choices and if I'm even good at this and if I should ever do it again. I promise, Morgan, you never have to do this race ever again. So it's so hard to answer that because it's different.
Yeah, totally. Ryan, did you have a follow-up question?
Well, it's funny. I do have a question not related exactly to that, but it's interesting to listen to, both of your perspectives on this. And, I think like a lot of people who are in the fitness space, the thing that you fall in love with is the training to some degree, whether it's endurance or weightlifting, whatever. I've often thought about whenever eventually I'm retired from bodybuilding, like I'm going to train regardless. Like it's my whole day is planned around it. When I travel, I plan around my training. It's just an integral part of who I am now. And with all of that being said, there is something about that competitive environment that is so hard to replicate anywhere else in your life. There's just something about, like the watch is on or the scoreboard's on, whatever it happens to be. And like something that just clicks in your brain that I know for myself, again, because I played competitive sports growing up. When I, sort of aged out of that, essentially competed in powerlifting and now bodybuilding, I don't know what it will be next, but it is impossible for me to imagine not having competition integrated in some way. So it's just interesting to kind of hear different perspectives on it. I don't know how much that resonates with you, Morgan, but it is very difficult for me to not need like a competitive drive for something. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I feel that too. And it's something that I've kind of struggled with for the past 2 years. Cause like I feel like I hit such a high with, the races that I've accomplished. And I was able to get back into it a little bit when I first had my son. Like I got back into a Spartan race and I was able to I got a first place 6 months after. And I was like, yeah, like I can make this comeback. And then it didn't happen for me. Like, life happened and I've still been able to like train and I still do the things, but it changed and I felt like a part of me was kind of missing, like almost like a void a little bit. Like I missed competing. So what I've been really excited about in the last like 6 months or so is starting to feel that I actually am able to like gain good fitness levels and that I can compete again. So just going into like a CrossFit gym and, just the little like 12-minute AMRAP at the end where you're competing just with like the people in the gym that you like, but you're still competing them. You're still racing them. It just turned on this other part of my brain that loves competing. Not necessarily like I have to beat whoever's there, but it's knowing that I'm pushing myself more than I would just on my own. I'm not going to like die the same way I will when there's other people around me. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel when all this is over and I'm not ready for it to be over yet. So I am excited to feel the build starting to come back again. But it's tough. It's a lot of work, balancing life and all of that.
Yeah. One of the things, one of the many things that sets you apart, I think, especially when it comes to the ultra endurance world, is how much you've integrated strength training into your routine. Far too many people in the endurance world, whether they be ultra endurance or even just, your average runners or even your avid runners who love doing their 10Ks, their half marathons and their marathons, are seemingly kind of semi-allergic to the weight room. And whereas yourself, that doesn't seem to be the case. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on perhaps what are the right words here? How crucial or how significant or how important has having a solid strength training routine been to like your success in the endurance space?
Yeah, such a great question. Honestly, I think it's made how I've been able to accomplish what I've been able to accomplish is because I've held so like that I strength train. Sorry, that like my grammar there was awful, but like what
legit. Yeah. I'm realizing right now I'm having a lot of trouble with sentences. I had a post-workout banana with some honey in the hopes of like giving myself some glucose. I'm struggling right now, so I really apologize.
So you get it.
It's nice to see that I'm not the only one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I know how to talk, but now that I'm being recorded, it's like I forget how to string sentences. But back to it, strength training is crucial, and it honestly has set me apart. And I've been so lucky that the races that I've done really well at, it's a combination of the strength and the running. So I've never really been able to just rely on one, because I know that to win, I have to be able to do the obstacles, which means I have to be strong enough to pull my body weight up and over things constantly for 24 hours. So I need to be not only strong, but my endurance and my strength has to be really, really good. And because of that, while I'm at the gym, I'm going to try and like make sure that I'm going to strengthen my legs and things like that, because injuries will stop you from competing, overuse things like runner's knee and that kind of thing. But if you're strength training, you can combat those before those issues even happen, because the strength training will help with those repetitive strain injuries. And something crazy that I'm doing is that I'll tell you guys is I have a client training for a 100-kilometer race. She's going to do this in 3 weeks. It's March 15th. And she's like, hey, Morgan, they want more females in this 100-kilometer race. I just so happen to have a free entry.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you want to come and do this? And I'm thinking, holy fuck, she told me this last week. And I'm like, I have not been doing my endurance training. I've not been working up to this. I would not really recommend this to anybody else to go for this. But I've been so consistent with my strength training. I've been doing it 3 to 4 times a week. My cardio is good. My experience is good. Leading up to this, my training for running, not so great. So I'm really, really hoping, and I hope I don't eat these words by like putting this out there, but I am so confident that my strength training is going to help me for this race because I am strong and I'm healthy and mentally a little crazy. I think that I could hopefully, knock on wood, pull this off, but We'll see. We'll see. Check back in 3 weeks.
Can you tell us?
Say, luckily for you, this episode won't be released until afterwards. So
that's right.
We'll just edit out the last 10 minutes.
Edit it.
Just like she didn't say this.
Just delete it.
Yeah.
So what is this? Is this an obstacle course race as well, or is this just like straight running for 100K?
Just straight running for 100K. Yeah. It's called the Rapid Raccoon, and it's in Philadelphia. In a trail, so there's going to be lots of elevation. It's going to be cold.
Those cross-country routes are going to come back.
That's what I'm hoping,
One of the themes that we've touched on many times today, directly and indirectly, is just like the place you go psychologically and like your ability to endure. And there's a few other athletes that really stand out who seemingly have an ability to have like a very interesting relationship with what some people call the pain cave, but just generally speaking, like your ability to tolerate that discomfort is a very strong predictor of your ability to excel in these ultra endurance things when your body's telling you in various ways to quit. So I'd love for you to shed a little bit of light on perhaps like, what does that look like? Like, can you let us in perhaps on like what goes on in your mind when you kind of start pushing up against what are evidently not true limits, but that feel like very, very real limits in the moment? How do you push through those?
It's such a great question. And there have been times where I have and I haven't. So there have been times where I have quit in a races, like my mind got the best of me and I wasn't able to push through. Luckily, I've had more successes than failures. Like what happens, I find, especially in endurance racing, is you're going to hit like what they call like a wall where everything, you just like your body feels like cement, you're slow, you're heavy, everything sucks. You want to cry, you want to quit. Like you start even thinking about weird things in your life or weird interactions with people. And you're like, I just suck. Like you just go into like such a dark, deep place. And what I do in those moments as best as I can is I focus on something that will shift my mindset in a way to just get me to keep going. So for example, I might be like, okay, Morgan, you don't have to win this race, but I want you to nail that next obstacle. I don't care how shitty you feel. When you get to that next obstacle, you might not be able to grip it anymore because your callus is ripped off. I want you to chicken wing it, and you're going to get through that obstacle. And then I'd get there, and that's what I would do. And then it would give me a new layer of confidence. I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah. Okay, I got this. Now my next goal is I just need to finish this lap. When I finish this lap, I'm going to get a Gatorade and a water and a hug from my partner, and I'm going to feel great. That might not happen. I might get there and I still feel shitty. But if you have a good crew, they're going to be like, I don't care, go out, and they're going to push you. And usually what happens is after, if you can push through that awful like block of pain cave darkness, you'll get a new wave. Like sometimes in a race, it'll be like you see the sun coming up. Like you've been running through the night, it's awful, and the sun comes up and it's like, wow, a new energy comes into your body and you're able to do it. There's just that, those are my main tricks. Or, I'll find a way like, okay, maybe my knees are in excruciating pain, and I'm like not able to bend my knees in this 85-mile race. So what I'll do is like I'll run straight legs, or I'll like run sideways, or I'll run backwards. And after a while, it comes back. Like your body's like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden you can actually start bending your knees again. So it's just troubleshooting and being okay with sucking or not performing the way you wanted to, but just continuing and finish.
This reminds me a lot. Clearly this is top of mind because this is the third time I'm referencing this basketball docuseries. There was a moment where I think it was in the semifinals with the U.S. team where, you know, the U.S. would be the favorites. They were losing after 3 quarters by quite a bit, and then they ended up coming back and winning and then going to the gold medal game. And I think it was Grant Hill, who's an NBA legend, he was one of their assistant coaches, was talking about, you start playing this game, you're like, okay, if we can get it to, you know, a 10-point deficit with 8 minutes left, and if we can get it to 6 points with 5 minutes left. And he had kind of talked about this idea of you almost have to have, as an athlete, like this delusional belief in yourself.
Yes.
And it sounds like this game making that you're doing for yourself as well. And I think it's so interesting. Again, like we've touched on this a couple of times with the psychological parallels between athletes across like a variety of sports. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's really interesting. It's the same like strategy that these other high level athletes are using.
Oh yeah. Like I remember talking to Ray Zahab, and he's one of like the best endurance athletes. Like he runs across the Sahara Desert. And I remember watching a video of him doing a motivational speech. And he said, you know, he showed up to this race with all of these like souped out sponsored athletes, and he's there with his like rickety gear. And he said what he would do is he would just be like, I just need to get to that next tree. I need to get to that next hill. And all he would focus on was that small step in front of him instead of thinking of the huge task at hand and being able to break it up into those small steps. He said before he knew it, he was there at the finish line and there wasn't anybody there. Like he was literally like, I'm at the finish line, and nobody was there because nobody expected him to finish that fast because these athletes would take breaks. They'd set up their camps, and he just fucking kept going. And I was like, yes, that is what I'm doing. So I try and like do that too, but I break it up. Like I'll get to the next obstacle instead of the next tree.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I know one thing we wanted to talk about, which hasn't come up yet, funny enough, is your Guinness Book of World Record.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, can you let everyone know what the record is, and then maybe talk about like what went into deciding to do that, and then how you sort of set that event up?
Totally.
Thank you. Yeah. So I had set the Guinness World Record for fastest 10K carrying 100 pounds. I did
because
it.
Because why not?
Why not? You know? And it all stemmed from me giving Brett a backpack, like piggyback rides. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of strong. Like maybe I could do this. And
yeah, for people that don't know, Brett's like, he's a big boy. He's not small.
Like right now he's like 245.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, it was crazy. And I had always wanted to set a Guinness World Record. Like I remember watching the show when I was a kid, and I just thought it was so cool. And I just went onto their website one day and I just like looked through their records for anything fitness related because I'm in the fitness space. And at the time I was training a lot of like special forces guys. So they did a lot of rucking. And I thought, okay, like I have people I can train with, like I can do this. And, yeah, I just put in an application. It takes about 3 months for them to approve it. They'll send you all the guidelines. So the guidelines for this record is it has to be like a certified 10K race. So that means it's been properly surveyed. So it's exactly 10K. I had to weigh the bag before and after the race. So I had like one of those little crane scales, to put on the bag so you could weigh it. And I had to have it all filmed by 2 camera angles. So I had somebody running beside, in front. I think I even had somebody behind filming the whole attempt. And then at the end of it, you get the like the race director to sign off that he also witnessed the record. So I sent that all in, and then, then I got the record, and, I did get beat though. So I will have to go again and do it another time. Cause I set that, I think it was in 2018. Is that when I did it? Yeah, in 2018. So it's been, a few years since then. So
do you know what the time is of the person who has knocked you off of that top step? Do you know what they got?
it was only by a few minutes. Like, I think
you got this.
Yeah, I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes. And funny enough, it was a girl that I compete with in the other races. So I was like, oh, of course.
Is she Ottawa based?
No, she's somewhere in the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's Canada versus US.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's go, Morgan.
Right? Yes. I got to go and get it back. So, yeah.
I love that. And so it's interesting. There's another theme that I guess some parallels between this and some of your other accomplishments, which is like, I think one of your hidden skills is you're a planner. Like,
yes.
Like you actively sought this thing out. Like you had a moment of inspiration, and then you transferred that, or you transmuted it into something concrete. You went on the website, you found some things, like you took the time to do your research and then to apply, plan, etc. And if we think back to, you needing to like organize your life as a means of, winning these ultra endurance events with World's Toughest Mudder and also Spartan, like planning is such a huge part of, what seems like perhaps one of your strengths that you bring to this table that allows you to excel. Like, are you also good with like Excel spreadsheets as well?
I can do Excel spreadsheets. I don't love them. I am a trainer. Like, I'll do it. But yeah, I love what you just said. And thank you. I think the biggest part is just it's planning and executing and just believing that you can do it, because I've trained athletes that are much stronger and fitter than myself. And I have taken a good look at the Guinness World Records out there, and I'll be like, hey, you should do this sumo deadlift record. Like, I know how much you can deadlift. I know how strong you are. You can do it. But unless they like go and apply and follow through with those steps, it doesn't matter that there's somebody out there who's stronger or better unless they really like go for it and plan it out. So I think that's been, really, really good skill for me for sure, is just, I'm just crazy enough to go for it. And I just make the plans and that it's going to happen. And I just keep believing in myself and trying, failing, trying again,
Yeah. Ryan, do you have a follow-up question on that? I have a question about nutrition that I'd love to pick Morgan's brain about.
No, go ahead.
So you had mentioned, Morgan, in when it comes to some of these events, like how crucial fueling is. And I mean, you see this all the time. Like, I mean, especially in the marathon, marathon distance, and above, they're just like athletes who bonk and just like crash if they don't fuel. And I've heard so many coaches talk about how, like, your fueling strategy can quite literally be the thing that dictates whether or not you win or you lose.
Yeah.
Or perhaps even like, I forget who said this, but like one coach that I listened to recently, and I'll paraphrase here, essentially said that, the degree to which you will win or accomplish this event is like the degree to which you've trained your gut to be able to intake enough food. Because like you can't eat enough to match actually your output.
Yes.
It's just about trying to get that number as high as possible to minimize how much you fall off of a cliff from a performance standpoint. And so I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. Have you found that to be true? And then if so, perhaps like how do you go about fueling and kind of planning your fueling for these events?
Yeah, like you hit it right there. Like it's so crucial. Your body can only absorb about 250 to 300 calories an hour when you're doing an endurance event. So you'll have people who won't eat for a long time and then they'll eat a lot, and like their body just cannot digest that. So it's just sitting in their gut and you're going to have no energy. So I like to think about it as like an IV drip. Like you want to constantly be eating and drinking and making sure you're getting enough electrolytes, carbs, that kind of thing. And sometimes it is like, it's a battle of nutrition, like who can keep eating as the endurance race goes on. And I think because I'm a bit bigger than a lot of endurance athletes, I don't know what it is. I'm just able to like, I just say I have garbage guts. Like I can just eat everything. Like I'll have like Pop-Tarts and I'll have Mountain Dew and like I'll just keep consuming calories because you're just burning so much. But yeah, usually in these races, like I'll lose anywhere between like 7 to 10 pounds. I just get completely depleted at the end. So it's good to have a little extra fat.
No doubt. And like, just to kind of like underscore this for those that maybe just didn't pick up on that, you said that like on an hourly basis, the amount of like energy that we can really like absorb is in the vicinity of 250 to 300. Is that correct?
It depends on your body weight, but roughly that's for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you think of like for yourself, if let's say 300, or even if let's be generous, add an extra 50 calories to that. If we were to compare and contrast that with your energy output for the hour, it's like
insane.
Right. So it's like, that's the thing that like people, and like for me, when I was first introduced to this concept, I was like, this is so weird. Like when I think about endurance, I don't think about endurance eating. But,
yes, it is endurance eating.
But in many ways,
yes.
Yeah, you know, it's like, it's such a huge part of the sport that so many people don't talk about. And this idea of like training your gut to be able to kind of like tolerate fuel and food, and to even practice the skill of being able to slam a gel back or whatever while you're running.
Yeah.
It's an acquired skill. You need to get in your reps like anything else.
It is. And you have to train with the foods that you're going to use during race time. And like, I have made that mistake so hard. Like I remember one year I was eating crazy clean. Like all I was doing was like paleo, no sugars, like nothing like that. And I got to race day. Like I can't fuel myself with a chicken breast. Like I need to have gels. And it was just like the worst thing I ever did. Like I did not finish that race. My stomach couldn't handle it. So now it's always like super important that you're training with the foods that you're going to use on race day. You don't want the race day to be the first day that you're using this new kind of gel. Same with equipment. Like the first time you're going to run with these shoes or use this backpack, because if you haven't trained with it, it's going to rub, it's going to annoy you. It's going to become this irritant. So yeah, it's so, so important. And like you said, you know, you can only absorb, let's say 300 calories. Your output might be 1,000. So you're digging a hole. Mm-hmm. You just try and like keep eating as best as you can.
No doubt. One thing that's funny, I don't know if I shared this with you, Ryan, but so last year, or I think it was last spring, I did my first trail event. It was a 35K in the mountains behind Geneva. And it's called the Jura Mountains. And it's kind of like a shared mountain range between Switzerland and France. And there's this 35K. And just on this note of food, because I very much agree, like I think like you absolutely need to like acclimate, and like you need to expose your body to the specifics of what you're going to be doing. Don't want to throw wild cards in on race day. And yet the way that the Swiss and the French do it is they eat fucking salami and cheese and like really nice salami and cheese, you know, at like kilometer 10, 15, 20, 25. And so like, you know, I had my food on me and my gels and stuff. And I'm hoping to find a banana at these places because I'm used to having that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Nope, no bananas. It's like crackers and ultra fatty salami and and cheese. I'm like, what is this? The Swiss and the French are so weird. And yet, I don't know, maybe that's the secret to their success, because they were smoking me on every single ascent. So maybe the secret to like hill climbing is salami. I'm not sure, but
yeah,
it's a funny anecdote.
I might have to try that.
Yeah. Ryan, how do you feel about getting to our rapid fire questions?
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right.
So something that we do with every first-time guest is we have a series of rapid-fire questions. So both rapid fire in terms of me asking, and then also just the first thing that pops into your head.
Oh God.
Cool.
Okay.
Don't worry, it's not like math questions or trivia.
Thank God.
So our first question is, what is your favorite book, movie, and concert?
Oh, favorite book would be 10-Minute Mental Toughness. Movie, I don't even know. I don't watch movies. I don't watch many movies. Why am I so stuck on this? Let's go with The Last Unicorn.
Okay.
What was the other question?
And concert.
Favorite concert? Oh, it's got to be Britney Spears. When I went and saw her in Montreal. That was pretty sweet.
Your favorite and least favorite food?
Favorite food, donuts. Least favorite, onions.
Fair. Your proudest moment outside of business?
Probably having my son.
Your favorite athlete growing up?
I'd go with Deanna Blake. You'll have to Google her. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Deanna Blake?
Blegg. Blegg. She was the best in my space, like this obstacle endurance racing when I first started. But she has HIV, and she like overcame so much in her life, and to become like a top athlete, I was just blown away. Like, I was like, I have no excuses.
Cool.
Yeah.
What 3 values guide you?
Integrity, honesty, and just working hard.
Your favorite and your least favorite lift?
Least favorite, deadlifts. Favorite, pull-ups.
Okay.
Cool.
What is one misconception about you?
Ooh.
That you were always good at running.
Yeah, that I'm good at this stuff. That's a great one, that I'm good at this stuff. Like, I'm really just honestly mediocre. I just keep going. That's it.
You're just good at slogging through it.
I'm just good at suffering, I guess.
Yeah.
City or country that you would love to visit?
Ooh, I would love to go to Halifax, because I haven't been over on the east side. Country, I keep hearing Portugal, so I'd love to go and check that out.
And our final question is, what is one hard truth that personal trainers or coaches who are trying to grow their business need to hear?
Hard truth. You have to be good at sales. That sometimes it's like it comes down to being a good salesperson. I don't know. I don't know. A second rapid fire question.
No, but I mean, I think that's I think you're the first of our guests to mention that, and I agree. It's a skill set that fitness professionals, just generally speaking, unless they have a sales background, like think about Ryan. I'm just going to call her your wife. When you think about Ryan's wife, Shannon, who had a sales background before she, as she came into the fitness industry, that was undoubtedly an asset for her, and has definitely been, how would I say, enabled her in growing her business at the rate that she has. So many professionals, fitness professionals, struggle with that because they're die hard and just like uber passionate about training because of the effect it's had on their life. But sometimes there's a resistance to learning the skill that's ultimately kind of like the bottleneck to their progress, which very often is like the businessy side of things, and learning how to not necessarily learning, because I think you can sell in many different ways. So I don't want it to sound like there's only one way to sell, but learning how to have a sales conversation.
Yes.
And finding your own way, when it comes to that. So I'm actually really happy that you mentioned that, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, I think, Morgan, you're the first of our guests to say that as a hard truth. And I really agree.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I felt like weird when I was saying it, but I see that as a main struggle for a lot of coaches. And I think you could be like the best trainer out there, but if you're not getting seen by as many people, it's hard. And like, I found that really hard because I started at Good Life. And that was like 12 years ago. And for
which location were you at? Sorry,
I was at March Road.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I switched over to the Carp location.
Were you with Courtney at March?
Yeah, Courtney Connor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Good stuff there.
Cool. Okay, sorry. So I interrupted you. You were saying that like you started at Good Life, kind of like drawing some parallels with the sales and stuff.
Yeah, and I found it really, really hard my first few years there because you're just learning the sales and just putting yourself out there and then having like the confidence that you could get that person to the goals that they're looking for is challenging. Like I find it a lot easier now because it's a skill that I've really worked on, but yeah, sales for sure.
One thing that Ryan and I talk about a lot is like how grateful we are that we started in the kind of big box gym chain environment. I also started at Good Life. I was over at Plasterleans, and then I managed the Queensview one, which is how Ryan and I met. And so therefore I worked, arm in arm with Courtney and Cody actually. And they kind of helped mentor me at the beginning of my career to kind of like as a manager to help me, try to get my feet underneath me, so to speak, in this completely new role. But, it's definitely a theme of this podcast. There are many themes, one of which is the appreciation of nuance, which we talk about a lot in the training world, but also just like how useful it is to like spend time in these larger gym chains to develop some of these skills that perhaps otherwise, if you're on your own, if you don't have them, the larger context of things when you're working by yourself makes it really difficult to just churn and burn through leads when you're self-employed. But when you're working at a Good Life or a Movati, you have that privilege perhaps, or that's kind of baked into how things work. And fortunately, it gives people who have the passion as a coach to develop some of these other lagging skills and to build them up so that way they aren't bottlenecks to progress anymore. So once again, I'm happy that you brought that up. At least for me, it feels very true.
Oh yeah, thank you. And I remember Courtney saying too, when she hired me, she's like, well, we have a lot to work on, but she's like, but you're so passionate. And I know that you want this so badly that we can train everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So we touched on it a little bit earlier in today's episode. I'd love for you to share with us as well as the listeners. I was going to say the listeners.
The listeners.
Like low blood glucose. I think I need to go slam another few more bananas in a moment. But I'd love for you to share with us and the listeners one more time where they can find you on the interwebs, where they can learn more about BeFit if they would like to be a part of your community.
Yeah, so thank you. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is worlds_toughest_Morgan. And you can find our BeFit page. It's at BeFit_FitFam. We also have our website, which is befitcoaching.ca. And there you can see all of our online training packages.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to be definitely keeping my eyes peeled to your social media when it comes to this 100 kilometer race that you got coming up in roughly, you said 3 weeks time?
Yeah, in 3 weeks. Let's see how it goes. My only goal is I just have to finish. Doesn't have to be fast. Doesn't have to be pretty. I just need to finish.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same with my 51K thing that I got coming up in July. Same deal. It's like just cross the finish line and get to the various checkpoints before the time cutoff. And just make it through because it's going to be a big one. I know
That's
Ryan
awesome.
and I are going to be rooting for you. You've got...
I'll run 100 meter just to...
thank you.
100 meter solidarity run.
Yeah.
We're going to be cheering you on for sure. Thank you so much for carving out the time today to give Ryan and I the opportunity to get to know you, to talk about your various accomplishments and exploits, and also future projects, both personally and professionally. It's been really fun getting to know you, and just good luck with everything you've got going on. If there's anything that we can do to support you, don't hesitate to reach out. And to the listeners, if you want to learn more about Morgan, as well as BeFit, all of the information to that is going to be linked in the show notes. So make sure you check that out as well. Morgan, once again, thank you so much. And hopefully it's not the last time that our paths will cross.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good times.